It is probably 3 in the morning, and you are staring at a desk that looks less like a professional workspace and more like a crime scene of half-finished ideas. There are stacked books with spines facing every which way, scattered handwritten notes that only you can decode, 3 different coffee mugs in various stages of abandonment, and perhaps a stray circuit board or a half-disassembled gadget. You are sitting there, and instead of feeling the electric hum of inspiration, you feel a lingering sense of productivity guilt. You have been told your entire life that a cluttered desk is the sign of a cluttered mind. You have likely spent hundreds of dollars on minimalist planners, rigid filing systems, and sleek organizational bins, only to watch those systems collapse into absolute chaos within 48 hours. Society looks at your workspace and calls you disorganized, scattered, or lazy. They want you to conform to the sterile, low-resolution aesthetic of the flock. But I am Silas, and today we are looking at the actual hardware data behind what I call organized chaos. You aren't messy. You are a non-linear associative thinker, and your desk is simply the physical manifestation of a high-volume idea flow that the average person literally cannot process. You aren't broken. You are running a high-resolution operating system in a world designed for 480p. In the laboratory of the self, we recognize that for a sentinel intelligence, a clean desk is often a dead environment. Most people operate on a linear operating system. They process one file at a time, so they require exactly one file on their desk. Their brains move from point A to point B in a straight, predictable line. But your brain possesses a high-fidelity associative architecture. You don't think in lines, you think in webs. To you, that stack of books on the left isn't clutter, it is visual RAM. By having your various projects and inspirations visible in your peripheral vision, your brain is constantly running background simulations. Your subconscious is finding hidden connections between a biology textbook and a coding manual that a linear thinker would never even perceive. Your mess is actually a highly active creative incubator. When you clear that desk to satisfy someone else's definition of order, you aren't just cleaning, you are wiping your cache. You are deleting the physical anchors that allow your mind to leap across disparate data points. Let us look at the neurobiological data. Research consistently links high IQ and highly creative individuals to disordered environments. This isn't a coincidence or a character flaw. A sterile, perfectly organized environment signals stability and finality to the brain. It says the work is done. But a messy environment signals possibility. When your surroundings are slightly chaotic, it actually lowers your inhibitory control in the prefrontal cortex. This allows the brain to break away from the rigid, conventional rules of the flock. You aren't failing to organize. You are optimizing for what we call far transfer. This is the ability to take a solution from one field and apply it to a completely different one. You keep the raw materials of your various interests close at hand because your internal radar never knows when it will need to bridge 2 different worlds to solve a complex problem. That brings us to the first layer of the hardware scan, which is the concept of externalized cognition. For the sentinel, the brain does not stop at the skull. We use our environment as an extension of our working memory. When you have multiple notebooks open to specific pages, you are essentially expanding your folder directory so that every piece of vital information is accessible with a single glance. This reduces the cognitive load required to switch between tasks. While the world sees a mess, your brain sees a dashboard of active widgets. You are maintaining a high-fidelity map of your current intellectual territory. If you were to file those papers away, you would be archiving them in a way that makes them invisible to your immediate processing unit. Out of sight truly is out of mind for the associative thinker, which is why the pile is a superior retrieval system to the drawer. But we must move deeper into the second point, which involves the divergent signaling of your environment. A perfectly tidy desk is a closed system. It suggests that there is a right way and a wrong way for things to exist. For a mind that thrives on breaking patterns and finding new signals, that rigidity is suffocating. The chaotic desk acts as a constant source of random input. Your eyes might drift from a technical schematic to a poem you scribbled on a napkin, and in that moment of unplanned intersection, a third, entirely new idea is born. This is the hardware of innovation. You are essentially running a continuous Monte Carlo simulation in physical space, allowing random variables to interact until a winning strategy emerges. There is a third factor we need to address, and that is the concept of low-latency retrieval. In a high-pressure cognitive environment, the time it takes to move from an idea to the execution of that idea is critical. If you have to stand up, walk to a filing cabinet, find the right tab, and pull out a folder, the fragile neural connection you just formed might dissolve. By having the mess within arm's reach, you are minimizing latency. You are keeping your tools in a state of readiness. It is the difference between a museum where everything is behind glass and a workshop where the tools are covered in grease and lying on the bench. One is for show, the other is for production. You are a producer, not a curator. However, we have to maintain system integrity, which leads us to the fourth point, the distinction between functional chaos and executive collapse. This is where most people get lost. Functional chaos is when you know exactly which pile the important document is in, even if it looks like a disaster to an outsider. The mess serves the mission. It feels energized, like a laboratory in the middle of a breakthrough. Executive collapse, on the other hand, is when the mess becomes noise. This happens when you can't find your keys, your essential tools, or your focus. At that point, the environment has moved from being an incubator to being a shame generator. If the mess makes you feel high fidelity and creative, it is an asset. If the mess makes you feel low resolution and paralyzed, your operating system is redlining, and you need to clear the buffer. The fifth data point focuses on sensory gating. Many of us in the wolf pack of solitude have leaky sensory gating, meaning we take in more information from our environment than the average person. While this can lead to overstimulation in a crowded mall, in a controlled workspace, we can use it to our advantage. We use the objects on our desks as sensory anchors. That specific heavy paperweight or that particular texture of a notebook cover provides a grounding tactile feedback that keeps the brain tethered to the physical world, while the mind wanders through abstract simulations. The mess isn't just visual, it is a multisensory landscape that keeps your nervous system calibrated. Moving into the sixth insight, we have to talk about the resistance to false categorization. The flock loves to put things in boxes. They want everything labeled and shelved. But the sentinel knows that information is fluid. A note you took on psychology might actually be a note on marketing, or philosophy, or game theory. By refusing to file it away into a single, restrictive category, you are keeping that information live. You are resisting the urge to prematurely categorize data, which is a hallmark of high-level intelligence. You are allowing the information to exist in a state of quantum superposition, where it can be anything you need it to be at any given moment. The seventh layer is the psychological concept of the mirror-void boundary. When people enter your space and comment on the mess, they are projecting their own need for external order because they lack internal structure. Your ability to thrive in chaos is a power move. It shows that your locus of control is internal. You don't need the room to be straight to keep your thoughts straight. By maintaining your organized chaos, You are essentially setting a boundary that says your mind operates on a level of complexity that their simple filing systems cannot comprehend. You are forcing them to interact with your reality rather than conforming to theirs. Finally, the eighth point is the weekly cache clear, which is a tactical necessity for the modern polymath. Even the best associative thinkers eventually fill their physical RAM. Once a week, you must look at the items that have become static. If you haven't touched a specific project or reference in 14 days, it has become noise. At this point, you move it to a physical bin or a deep storage folder. You aren't becoming a minimalist. You are clearing the visual cache to make room for new, high-priority data. This is how you prevent functional chaos from sliding into executive collapse. You don't need to apologize for a workspace that looks like a laboratory. The world is full of people who can keep a clean desk, but can't generate a single original thought. They are the ones who follow the blueprints. You are the one who draws them. Stop trying to be understood by people who process life in low definition. Your desk is a hardware extension of a rare mind. It doesn't have to look good to the flock. It just has to work for the sentinel. If you are a professional messy thinker, someone who finds the signal in the middle of the noise, drop a tornado emoji in the comments. Let the other associative minds in the tribe know they aren't alone in the chaos. You aren't disorganized. You are just operating at a level of complexity the room isn't equipped to handle. Put the hoodie on, ignore the critics, and get back to the work. Stay observant. Stay rare. Seal is out. The screen fades to black as the Sentinel HUD flickers one last time.